going to go ahead and open the Guthrie-Edmond Regional Airport. I will be the new chairman for the next year, and hopefully can fulfill anything and everything we need to do, and not have Billy take me to court. So with that, we will call it the meeting to order. On today's date, which is February 11th, and open with any kind of public comments, announcements, and recognitions. We had originally planned to be able to give Janet Yao, the Edmond Economic Development Director, a plaque for appreciation for her service over 20 years. And Janet is not just the economic development for Edmond, but she, months before we ever put an agreement between the two cities, she and Larry Stevens worked with, I think her name was Eleanor with Guthrie, and then John Gummerson with Guthrie. And so she has been at the grassroots. She's done an awful lot of work on the Edmond side to keep this board, our participation afloat. And I mean, she is the ground floor, and she's done it all the way through. She's the reason, quite honestly, we have a commercial development area on the airport. We tried everything we could to get business and commercial aviation and couldn't get her done. She twisted a lot of arms in our town, and came up with enough money to put the infrastructure in out there. And so that's the kind of person she is. She's really great. So if we don't get a chance to do it today, we do in the future. You'll have an idea who you're dealing with. She's a pretty first class kind of person. So with her not being available right now, then we'll go ahead and move on. And if she comes up later, if it's agreeable with this board, I'd like to build her into our meeting. And if anybody has an objection to that, that's easy to know. So what we will do is start out with comments, announcements, and recognition. I think that we've already done that. So discussion and consideration of action and approval in the minutes of for the minutes of the Guthrie meetings held on the 14th of January. I move to approve.
Second.
Move second. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Those in favor have it. We will approve that for our discussion today. Number 3 is discussion and consideration for the monthly financials, which are included in this. So
moved.
Second.
Just for clarification, you said 3. If you'll just clarify that as item number 4, please.
Number 4.
Yeah. 4. So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded. Those opposed? Those approved?
Aye.
Okay. Aye. Okay. Ayes have it. That item is approved. Number 5 is discussion and consideration of possible action to extend the period of construction pursuant to Section 5D of our hangar and ground lease agreement between the city and Latham Investment Properties for hangar site 23E, not 23C, which we're all used to talking about. So, discussion.
I was going to discuss, Mr. Chairman, just give a brief overview. The city of Guthrie entered into the lease agreement for this site on October 10th of 2023. Section 5D, which is referenced directly in the agenda, states that construction shall commence within 6 months from the date of the agreement, and construction must be completed within 120 days thereafter. In the May 14th meeting, the board unanimously approved extending the construction deadline to September 14th. with an additional 120 days for completion. This extension made the deadline for completed construction Sunday, January 12th of this year. I'll apologize if this was not on last month's agenda. The deadline slid by, but I will say that Mr. Latham, who's here today, has been in constant contact with my office and has provided regular updates at my request anytime I asked. So it's my understanding that this hangar is very near close to completion. And so I would just ask if Mr. Latham had any comments about hangar site 23E, he can surely give them here. And the board can decide based on that how much they want to extend. I don't anticipate there needing to be a very long period of time. So, and I have, before I get too far ahead of myself, I did want to show some most recent photos of the hangar. So you can see it's nearly complete.
Yeah, the looking great. The project's going well. Pretty happy with how it turned out. But schedule was an issue. There was a lot of things that got in our way. I have a whole list of things to go through here, but I don't want to bore you with a bunch of stuff. So I don't know how much you really want to know. But just real briefly, a few of the bigger items. You know, when we were granted the extension, DEQ had administratively approved our DEQ permit on 4/26. We didn't actually get approval until late May. So that was, you know, we got that extension on 5/8. Well, we expected that we would get it like any day. So there was another 3 weeks there that we kind of got held up. And then by the time we did get that, our subcontractor had rescheduled. And so then there was about a 3 to 4 week period there that we had an issue with schedule. I didn't want to get a different guy because this guy was licensed for this city for DEQ. A couple other small issues. Some of the paneling for the door from the manufacturer came in 8 inches too short. We ordered it, all the sheets at the right length, shows up 8 inches too short. Well, don't you know, it was like on one of the holidays, I don't remember. And they said, well, we're out for 2 weeks. And so it just typical construction stuff, just kind of everything kind of like that hit. And then by the time we got it done, got the cold weather, we can't do the spray foam until it warms. So anyway, I could go on and on. I don't want to bore you guys, but
What's outstanding at this point, Brad? And how much time you need?
probably, I think I can get it done in 3 or 4 weeks, but conservatively going like 6 just to make sure. We're doing a few extra things on the inside that we also had not planned on doing. We're doing some liner panels, you know, just doing some more painting and making it pretty nice. So we can't really get our CO until that's done. All our spray foam's done, framing's done, electrical's been started on the inside. So
Okay.
we're closing down.
So do we need to make an extension from the prior expiration date, which would have been on January? So should we do a 90-day extension from that January date, giving Brad a solid 2 months to complete? Would that be
I
appropriate?
think that would be appropriate. I would counter that we may want to say, what are your thoughts on saying until April 8th? That'd be not next month's airport board meeting, but the next month we could discuss it if you need to by then. Is that fine with you?
That would be great. That should be plenty. That's good.
Okay.
I would agree with that. Thank you for that, because I think that our February, March construction thing in Oklahoma could really go south on there if there wasn't. We all know that, so to be realistic. Ryan, is that agreeable with you?
Totally agreeable. And that was I was just looking at the date, that was the April 8th meeting, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so I'd like to make a motion that we extend the construction period of hangar 23D to April 8th. This month.
I second that. Been moved and seconded. If you have a minute, I'd like, just for our reference and going forward with leases and construction, was the major holdup on this DEQ, and was it DEQ drainage, or is it just DEQ across the board? Because we all know about our thoughts for holding ponds and all that kind of. We'd like your thoughts on how it is to work with those folks.
Well, I unfortunately was the lucky guy that with that spot, when we did when we looked into that spot, our drawings showed an 8-inch water line right through the middle of the building that was a feed line for Guthrie. And our understanding was, like I said, that it was an 8-inch line. Well, once we did our research, it turned out to be a 12-inch water line. And when it turns into a 12-inch water line, Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality steps in, and you have to have a full engineer set of drawings with permits in order to relocate that line. They won't let it. I could not build the hangar over the line. So, I mean, it was, gosh, like an 8-month process to hire the engineer, the survey, get state approval. And I have a letter from Governor Stitt. I mean, they take it really seriously on relocating the water line. So that was the main issue.
So endemic to this particular build out, not systematic of every one of them going.
Exactly.
Okay, exactly.
So as long as you don't plan on moving any 12-inch water lines, you should be.
Do we,
Good question.
just off the top of your head from our engineering and our prints, which I'm fairly familiar with that. Do we have that line in future construction projects anywhere on the airport?
Well, I'll tell you one thing we've looked at doing based on feedback from builders like Brad is revising the lease language where it says construction must commence within 6 months and has to be completed 120 days after. The size of hangars that we're looking at getting developed on the new property, given how large they are, and just the large corporate hangar area, that construction timeline, even the phrasing of it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And so we've looked at amending that to be more attractive to developers that are looking to be out here, because it's not that timeline doesn't work for a lot of folks.
Should that be case by case then, based on the hangar?
I think it definitely
Should that language be adjusted on each new construction project and presented by to the board?
Yeah, I don't think that would be a problem.
Yeah.
Sure.
So maybe on the next board meeting, change that language.
I think the only reason that language, one thing that comes to my mind is we don't want someone to get a lot secured and then do nothing with it over time. We
totally get that.
We want our fuel sales quicker. We want operations more quickly. But are we shooting ourselves in the foot, for lack of better words?
We're making a lot more work for the board to have to continually extend leases, construction deadlines that aren't realistic.
Right.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor, seconded, to approve the extension to April the 8th. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Those in favor have the ayes, so we will approve that. Item number 5. Okay. Today's agenda, we'll go to item number 6, which is discussion and consideration of possible award for the RFQ for the airport engineering services for the next 5 years to Park Hill Engineering. Discussion.
On December 18th, we advertised RFQ for an airport consultant in accordance with FAA advisory circular for planning consultant services for airport grant projects. Approval of this item will allow staff to begin looking at a 5-year master on-call agreement for engineering services. Our previous agreement was with CEC and changed over to Park Hill when Toby and Craig Boyer moved firms. Myself, Board Chairman Guy, Vice Chairman Gera, and the Guthrie City Manager reviewed proposals from 2 firms that submitted statement of qualifications. After scoring the proposals, the committee unanimously decided that we would recommend this award to Park Hill. Brief recap on the decision-making process. The committee believed that Park Hill's relationship with the ODAA was critical, given the vast amount of projects we have over the next 5 years. We did like Lochner's submission as well, but just the relationship Park Hill has established with the airport and with the state and federal stakeholders in our projects was critical. And I have their submission packets. I can go grab them if any of you would like to review that today. Once you all approve that we award this RFQ, next month I'm going to come back with that completed master on-call agreement with Park Hill, and I will put that before the board, and then that will go to Guthrie City Council for approval after that.
Questions and discussion? It was interesting, after all, I've been involved in this for years, and we actually only got 2 submittals. That's really kind of unusual, I think. Obviously, Park Hill, having been on the field and knowing and been involved in our planning, and was a good choice. Lochner was the second RFQ that we received, and they are a quality company and have bid this annually for a lot of years, but I was surprised that we just ended up with 2. I think Caden has indicated that we did have the opportunity, or we do at this point as a board, to request additional. If you guys would like to have bigger and better or more, or are you're comfortable with what that particular committee did and has done? So, are there any comments or anything that you'd like to talk to?
Is there somebody other than Toby? Is he the lead engineer?
Yeah, he'll be the lead Park Hill representative for us. And I will say, one of the reasons I think we saw a lower response rate, one, it's just difficult if the other engineering firms know that the airport has a good relationship with that engineer. They might not even put their hat in, but they also know that on our CIP, Park Hill has already awarded a $5 million taxiway project. They did the schematic design for the terminal. I think whenever they go and look at an airport, especially a GA airport like ours, they need to see, where is our time being spent. That's not to say, as the chairman suggested, that we can't go out for another RFQ, and we can certainly reach out to them and ask if they want to. I met with many engineers that came out here prior just to see the airport and take photos for a proposal. But once they learned the amount of projects that Park Hill already has under contract with the airport, I think it was less of an incentive to put in. I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, from a practical standpoint, that's a good observation on your part. Just wanted to make sure that our board had the opportunity to know that, we could call more if you like.
If you guys made a decision that you're happy with it, I think they've done a good job for us. I'm comfortable awarding that to Park Hill at this point. That said, I'd like to make a motion to award RFQ 2024-14 to Park Hill.
Moved, second. Moved and seconded. Park Hill, the engineering company, selected by Guthrie-Edmond Airport. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 6 passes. Item number 7 will be the airport director's report.
All right. I'll begin my report with some sad news before leaving on a happier note. Matt Cole, owner of Blue Skies Flight School, has informed me of his intention of closing his flight school next month. He says that the insurance cost and lack of DPs has made his operation much more challenging. Staff has noticed a decline in operations and wasn't sure what was going on. I appreciate Matt letting me know. He told me that I had his blessing to share this with the board. He still plans on retaining the hangar at this time, possibly to use it for just his personal recreational use. I told him that I would like, if he is going to sell it, the city really has no skin in this game, but I would like him to get in contact with me and encouraged him to, just so that we can try to find another business that would move into there with employees. So he has a small office space. But like I said, we have no skin in that game. If he has someone he wants to sell it to, that's totally fine. I just would like, we already don't have a lot of hangar opportunities at this airport currently. And especially as far as business development goes, his hangar would be a good option for a small operation. So spoke to him on that, wanted to keep the board up to date. I do plan on having the board honor him at the next airport board meeting for 10 years out here at the airport. I know there's numerous pilots that have received certifications from his flight school. And so just wanted to give him that opportunity at the next meeting. Airport staff is expecting the Bureau of Labor Statistics to release the necessary data needed to formulate the consumer price index adjustments, the CPI adjustments. Those will also go before the board and council next month. Just wanted to make you aware of that. Advanced surveillance has nearly completed phase 1 of camera upgrade improvements to hangar number 1. Camera installation on the beacon will begin soon. I've begun working with Park Hill surveyors to coordinate on a survey for the airport fence. A portion of the survey will be completed using UAVs, and the runway will be closed for a brief period. I'm anticipating an hour or two. We'll issue proper NOTAMs and notices of closure for that. Did want to show you, share with you this information here. You probably saw the large cover that they had in the lobby whenever you walked in. I included a copy of the chamber guide with you today. They did an excellent write-up of the airport, and I appreciate the chamber showcasing us. That they make over 5,000 copies of that magazine and distribute it to the community, around the community and surrounding regions. So I was really honored to see that, and I appreciate the FBO letting us use their aircraft. Let's see here. I will be attending the Southwest Airports FAA Partnership Conference in Texas from February 24th to February 26th. And so I will be out of office, but I'll still be reachable by phone if any of you need me. And with that, I had really quickly, I wanted to show you, this was the first, January was the first month of using our airport operations tracking system. It was not a full month, and I can assure you that no one was more irritated at that fact than me. We got it fully started up and ready to go on January 8th. So it is from January 8th to the last day, of course. But just wanted to show you the kind of data that it collected. I'll have more to share next month when we have a full month's data. But there was a total of 656 landings, 724 takeoffs, 204 go-arounds and overflights, and a total of 1,380 total pavement operations. So that's not including go-arounds or overflights. And this is covering it, but that's a breakdown of the aircraft that are using our facility the most. You can see SR-20 Airnos 26% of the time, Piper Cherokee 11%. The 17% over here is experimental helicopter and anything that's the registration is not immediately clear to the system. It throws it into that category. They are working on breaking that out. It just wasn't broken out. And then Cessna 172 was
segment over here.
Yes, I wish I could remove that, but
How did that compare with your expectations?
well, I think hold on, I'll show you right here. This slide really shows that we had 63 was what we had reported to the state and FAA, our guesstimate of what our prior year's daily average was. These were the top days in January. This really obviously aligned with the weather. There were many days where visibility conditions were super low, the weather was nasty, and obviously we were much lower. But on the days where it was, and when I say sunny, I even mean sunny and 45 degrees, and you were still seeing operations top over 150 a day. And so it exceeded my expectations. I think obviously this month, the cold winter months are going to skew the data, But I think in the summertime, when we're just having consistently clear skies and people are actively flying, I think we're gonna average much more than 63. So I'm really excited to see what kind of data we can continue to collect from the system. And like I mentioned, unfortunately, this is kind of the only data I have yet, just because it was the first month and that's all it really had, so.
What was our daily average, do you know?
I computed it, it was around 63, it was. Yeah, I think it was a little bit lower, it was like 61. But I also, at first I was like, gosh, we didn't even hit but then I was like, well, that's a yearly average, this is the goal.
Not including summertime when that average is triple or quadruple what that number is, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's cool.
I have a question. Actually, I have two questions. Question one, so this software that tracks and provides these numbers, are these numbers acceptable to the FAA as your traffic count? It's not, because back in the day, it was always a WAG. Sometimes we did a SWAG, but most of the time it was a WAG because nobody really knew. There was no way to count the traffic. So these numbers, these reports are acceptable as, by golly, this is what we had. Kind of like you had a control tower on the field.
Yes, so I have really good news. I learned through this process that the FAA does accept these numbers. Airports, this system originated specifically 1200 Aero in Florida, and a lot of Florida airports have used it. Ardmore actually was trying to extend their runway, and the FAA allowed them to use this data to try to justify it.
Excellent. Question number two. Okay, this is the old air traffic guy in me rising up. But that number 204 down there in the bottom left side of your slide says go arounds and overflights. Now the controller in me says a go around is because something went wrong. Is that what when you say go around there, is that the kind of go around that I'm thinking? Or is that just the pilot just chose to do a low approach?
I assumed it was the low approach because there were so many. I can certainly ask the system how, like, I've had to have multiple conversations with them because I will receive a data point, like this one, for example, 17%, their system didn't know how to read that. And so I kind of have to go back and ask, how are you defining this to make sure it meets what our expectations are? I would assume it was just a low approach.
Because the system is using ADS-B data, I would ask if that is also including touch and goes in that, which are a common trading activity. So if touch and goes are being counted as a go around, electronically, you wouldn't see much difference between the two. You're slowing down, you're touching the ground, you're re-accelerating, and you take it back off again in a touch and go. That would look very, very similar to a go around using ADS-B data. So I would ask that question.
Well, I've noticed too that the student traffic will advance, will just do a low approach and go around, not even touch down. So I'm assuming
I'll get you.
part of that's in there.
I will definitely ask. They had a chart that wasn't fully, it's still processing January, but it tells me training operations based on touch and goes. And so somehow they are recognizing that and storing that data. I will get an answer to you by the next airport.
Would Vance fit into that 1% other? They're not an SR20, 172, they're not experimental, they're not PA, they're not
Yes.
Pipers. So they would be, Vance would be in that 1%
Yes.
category.
What's Vance sending?
T6s.
T6s? And I may be spooking fellas on this go around thing, but that's what I was trained up with. Okay, if I tell somebody go around aircraft on the runway, you know, there's an emergency condition of some sort.
Like a deer.
That's what triggers that in my brain.
Yeah.
I'm always thinking deer now, you know?
So in line with that, to supplement your question, I don't want to interrupt if you're not.
Yeah, that's cool.
But my question is, and also what Ryan is that T-38s that are doing the low approaches?
You said
Now
T6.
The
T6.
Texans.
Okay,
T6s.
Texan.
And then we have a definition of everything up to a 172. Can the program give us a military category to
I would have to go and look. I believe off the top of my, excuse me, off the top of my head, it's counting other.
Okay, and that's fine up to this point, but if we can get them to start doing that on a regular basis and landing and buying fuel, we'd like to know. The other question is that I have is that distribution of total flights is 1-6 or 3-4? Is there any way to
Primarily 1-6,
1-6 primarily?
landing and takeoff.
Really? Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah, nice data.
Good deal. Yeah, thanks for putting that all together. That's a huge project, by the way.
If it's ADSB data, they should be able to know if it's a T6. That should be reported.
I need to check. I don't know if they're putting it in the other category that's experimental, non-registered helicopter, or if they're putting that in other.
And we have to realize, Kane's just getting it off the ground, so
Yeah.
this is a good time to ask
We
questions.
may be asking them to break it into too many categories.
Yeah, we may be asking more than it can do.
And technically, you're not breaking this into those categories already broken down for you, right?
Right, they're taking the data that they collect and they're showing me how they normally give that to airports. Sometimes it lets me break it out, but like I mentioned with the experimental, I would have had no way of knowing that if I hadn't contacted them.
Okay. So, item number 8 then would be, with the, conclusion of the airport manager's report, comments and, requests from board. I'll start with Brian Wallace. What do you think?
Hey, thank you guys for taking the time to review all of those different submittals from Park Hill and what was the name? Was it Lock Hill? Locklear, yeah. Thank you for taking the time to evaluate those for us and give them all a fair shake. I am a little disappointed we didn't get some submittals from companies like Myers, for example. But the reality is, all these engineering companies are super busy right now with the amount of grant funded work in municipalities. So I think the fact that we have a relationship with Park Hill makes a lot of sense why we didn't get more submittals. But thank you guys. Appreciate you guys taking the time to review those. Thanks for the good job, Ken.
Okay, Mr. Tracy Williams.
I'm excited about that $5 million entry into our account. Looking forward to seeing it spent.
Is it still there?
It's still there,
Okay.
according to this.
It was there a minute
It looks
ago.
really good.
Jot down on it.
So $5,700,000.
Very job. Very exciting.
Very excited.
Oh, what do you think?
Well, I concur with the thinking on why only 2 submittals. When I found out that there was RFQs that were being considered, I thought you're not going to get very many because of the engineering work that's already been put in play. And if you had somebody like KSA or Lochner come in behind and pick this up, then they're picking up somebody else's engineering work, design work, and they're probably not going to be real in favor of that. They may find discrepancies in their mind. Well, I wouldn't have done it this way. Well, you got, this is what you get. So that, for that reason, I'm not surprised. But, you know, Park Hill's been here, Toby's been here, and then there's a lot of distance to go. When you already got somebody that already knows, you don't have to train them up again. So
Totally agree.
I think Park Hill probably serve you as well as anybody can. And I always told the people when they made the final hit list and we had the interviews of the engineering firms, and they, well, what is, do we stand a chance? I said, look, if any of you got into this final interview process, I can put your name in a hat and pull it out without even, because you wouldn't have got this far if you weren't worth your soul.
Yeah.
So Park Hill will do good. I'm convinced. And thank you for doing good.
Yeah.
Mr. Young.
Excellent. Mr. Stan
I
Young.
just confer with what everybody's already said.
Hmm. Well, thanks. I appreciate everybody being here this afternoon. Additional comments or things that we'd like to see on the upcoming agenda. Kate is very good about getting that request out 2 weeks before we actually flip the agenda. So don't be bashful. I think that's important. It needs to come from the guys on the board and from the people on the ground out here. So
When's our next retreat where we get together and discuss all of the planning and stuff?
I plan on getting that, actually before you all at the next meeting or the next on getting that scheduled. I've also thought about doing a retreat with us, and then I'm gonna make the city attorney start sweating bullets. Get the Guthrie and Edmond City Council with you all in a room to discuss long-term planning for the airport. Grayson Arties with the ODAA has expressed that he would like to speak on how both airports have helped the Oklahoma airport system. And I know that we could probably benefit by both cities along with you all getting together and going over these long-term projects we have. So those are just some of the big discussions we're having. The scheduling for that's a nightmare, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I did have a question, if I might, Mr. Chairman, and that is, Kim, do you have a calendar, a long-term calendar published somewhere that we can start seeing the events unfolding over, say, the next 3 to 6 months? Is that online or
Like the
like an events
projects or
events calendar?
events calendar.
Yeah, do you have an events calendar somewhere?
The way I normally do it's through the newsletter, but we're looking at updating our website, and that is an excellent thing to add to that once we get that.
I'd like to, just, it kind of goes along with what Walt was asking, but is there a way for us to look ahead to know what's coming up?
Okay. Yeah.
That would be a really good thing, and it helps us to promote. We can promote the airport better as board members if we have an idea of what's coming up several months ahead.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
good idea. In addition to that, Kate and I visited about getting all the board members an updated roster of emails, cell phones, so we can all get hold of each other and
Good idea.
make proposals anywhere within the group. So that should be out here pretty quick. I think that fits right in with that calendar. That's a good idea.
I agree.
Additional comments? I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
Second, moved and seconded. This meeting is adjourned.